Welcome to South Africa, a diverse and vibrant nation located at the southern tip of Africa.
FARISAH, come back here.
Coming. South Africa population has grown steadily, reaching 64.3 million in 2034, up from 55.6 million in 2014. This consistent growth has averaging 817,000 people per year. It's driven by improved living and standard healthcare. South Africa exports are dominated by precious metals like gold, platinum, and palladium, alongside with coal and iron ore. In 2022, export revenue totaled $147 billion with key partners including the United States, China, and Germany. On the import side, South Africa spends $130 billion annually on machinery, chemicals, and refined petroleum, which is mainly sourced from China, Germany, and Saudi Arabia.
Hajar, do you know what is the main industry in South Africa?
I don't know. Actually, I know the answer to that question. South Africa thrives on mining, manufacturing, agriculture, and also financial service. First, mining leads in global gold, platinum, and diamond productions. Meanwhile, for manufacturing, they will produce automobiles, chemicals, and steel for local and also global markets. And next is the agriculture, which is they will export wine, fruits, and sugar. Last but not least is financial services, which anchor in Johannesburg, which will support international and also local business. Do you guys know South Africa unemployment remains a critical challenge at 32.6% in 2034. A skill mismatch, slow economy, and limited opportunities for youth exacerbate the issue. And the government is addressing this through policies aimed at the entrepreneurs and small business development. With a GDP of $401 billion in 2023, South Africa ranks among Africa's largest economies. However, structural issues like energy instability, weak infrastructure, and also high public debt slow its growth. And despite this challenge, South Africa resources wealth and market potential, which will ensure its importance in regional and also global economies.
NURFARAH, I don't have a job. Unemployment in South Africa has been a persistent challenge deeply tied to the country's structural and economic issues. Despite being one of Africa's most industrialized nations, South Africa has one of the highest unemployment rates globally. Over the past 19 years, the unemployment rate in South Africa has fluctuated significantly. The highest peak was recorded in 2022 at 28.84%. This was largely due to the COVID-19 pandemic, which severely disrupted industries like trade, construction, manufacturing, agriculture, and mining.
By mid-2022, the unemployment rate had reached a record high of 7.99 million unemployed individuals.
Even before the pandemic, unemployment was already a major issue. Starting from 2009, the rate hovered near 20%, peaking again in 2019 at 25.54%. Factors like discouraged job seekers and unfulfilled political promises contributed to these numbers.
During election campaigns, promises to create jobs often raised public hopes. However, many of these promises were not fulfilled, leaving citizens frustrated and the economy strained. Retail, for instance, adopted multi-channel strategies to reconnect with customers, contributing to job creation.
However, not all sectors recovered at the same pace and challenges remain.
In In conclusion, South Africa's unemployment crisis peaked in 2022 due to structural challenges and the COVID-19 pandemic. While recovery is underway, sustainable solutions are needed. The government and stakeholders must take decisive actions to prevent such crises in the future.
Thank you to our reporter reporting from South Africa. Today, we are exploring the different types of unemployment affecting Africa, focusing on two main issues, classical unemployment and structural unemployment. Both of these contribute to the high unemployment rates across the continent, particularly in countries like South Africa. First, let's talk about classical unemployment, also known as real wage unemployment. This type occurs when trade unions push for wages that are higher than what the market can support. As wages increase, employers may be reluctant to hire more workers because higher wages lead to lower demand for new employees. Next, structural unemployment. Structural unemployment, which is particularly widespread in Southern Africa, occurs when entire industries decline or fall or fail to adapt to changing demands, new products or technology. As industries shift, worker skills no longer match what is needed, leaving many without jobs. According to the South African Trade Union in 2024, structural unemployment in the region is linked to the effect of capitalism and neocolonialism. Foreign companies exploit Africa's natural resources, while neoliberal policies focus on global competition rather than local economic growth. This mix has led to a high level of unemployment. One example of how this plays out is restrictive monetary policies set by African governments. These policies can make it harder for business to grow as they face increasing debt and fewer opportunities for expansion. Both classical and structural unemployment are contributing to the ongoing job crisis in Southern Africa. To address these challenges, experts say there needs to be a focus on creating policies that support local business, adapt to global changes, and ensure that worker skills are aligned with industry demands. Now, let's look into the effect of ongoing unemployment crisis in South Africa. The unemployment crisis is taking a heavy toll on communities across Africa. Despite periods of economic growth, the COVID-19 pandemic has deeply disrupted progress, leaving countries like Burundi and South Africa grappling with poverty, inequality, and widespread social unrest. Burundi, one of the continent's poorest nations, has long struggled with economic stagnation. The country's GDP growth was negative 3.90% in 2015, and it continues to show slow recovery. Civil conflict, ethnic tensions, and a lack of essential services like healthcare and education have left many Burundians living in dire conditions. Despite these challenges, the situation is not unique to Burundi. South Africa, Africa's most industrialized nation, faces its own set of issues. High unemployment is driving social exclusion, especially between rural and urban areas. While cities are home to more opportunities, rural areas are largely left behind, deepening the divide between the wealthy and the poor. This leads to stark inequalities, with millions still lacking access to basic services like clean water, housing, and healthcare. The next effect of unemployment in South Africa is social exclusion. Social exclusion has become a significant concern in many African countries. The unemployed are often stigmatized, seen as lazy or unmotivated, even though many are actively seeking work. The real issue, experts argue, are in the limited job opportunities compounded by the economic instability and structural challenges within this economy. In 2021, South Africa experienced its largest civil unrest since the end of the apartheid. The July riots, fueled by the imprisonment of former President Jacob Zuma, were exacerbated by unemployment, economic inequalities, and the lasting effect of the COVID-19 pandemic. More than 300 people died and thousands were arrested, highlighting the deep social and economic tensions across the country. These riots are a stark reminder that the social instability caused by rising unemployment led to a spike in crime as people, desperate for survival, turned to illegal means of income. Experts agree that addressing unemployment in Africa requires comprehensive reforms in education, infrastructure, and economic diversification. Without these changes, poverty and inequality will continue to haunt the continent, keeping millions in precarious conditions.
Hi and welcome to this breaking news update. South Africa has achieved a major milestone by addressing its unemployment crisis through the strategic use of monetary policy. Let's dive into the details of this groundbreaking achievement. South Africa adopted an expansionary monetary policy which focused on increasing the money supply to stimulate economic growth, particularly during times of recession. The South African Reserve Bank, or SARB, adjusted the legal reserve requirement. Before the pandemic, commercial banks were required to keep a cash ratio of 2.5%, but in 2020, as the COVID-19 pandemic created economic turmoil, this ratio was lowered to 2.0%. This allowed banks to release more funds into the economy. SARB also conducted open market operation by purchasing government bonds. This increased liquidity in the banking system, lowered interest rate, and encouraged borrowing. From this, business could expand and hire more workers. Another bold move was the reduction of the discount rate, also known as the repo rate. From January to May 2020, the rate was cut from 6.5% to 3.75%. This measure helps support struggling businesses and boost customer spending. Though unemployment still peaked at over 32% during the pandemic due to its unprecedented challenges. In 2022, SARB introduced the surplus or tired flow system by giving banks more reserve and offering deposit facilities. With structured incentive, SARB ensured a steady flow of funds in the economy while encouraging interbank lending. This innovative approach further strengthened South Africa's economic recovery. While this measure have significantly reduced unemployment, experts say long-term solutions require fiscal policy and other structural reform. Now over to Daniel on how South Africa solved unemployment problem using fiscal policy.
Good evening. Today we look at how South Africa is addressing unemployment through fiscal policy. Here's more on the government strategies. South Africa is using expansionary fiscal policy to reduce unemployment and boost the economy. One key approach is increased government spending. Infrastructure projects are creating jobs while improving economic connectivity, following successful examples like Ethiopia large-scale initiative. Another measure involves tax reform. Lowering entry tax rates or raising taxable income threshold could boost the home pay for low-income workers, encouraging employment while having minimal revenue impact. Long-term, improving urban mobility is critical. Better public transport and housing closer to jobs will connect workers to opportunities and enhance job creation. Lastly, the Employment Tax Incentive (ETI) offer tax rebates to businesses hiring young and inexperienced workers, helping reduce youth employment. This strategy addresses both immediate and long-term unemployment challenge. We'll monitor the impact of this measure closely. Stay with us for more updates.